What's the difference between summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting? How should you even use it? In Graf and Berkenstein's chapter 2 and 3, they talk about the art of quoting and the art of summarizing. In the summary chapter, they really talk about the value of summarizing is to be able to engage with an author or a writer's perspective and summarize the very key points, the arguments that they're making in your own words. When you represent an author's original argument with respect to how they are building their argument and building up their ideas, it almost is like you're trying to write and be in their shoes, quote unquote. The most important piece of summarizing, though, is the balancing you have to do. The balancing act between really trying to summarize an author's perspective, their argument, their ideas, but also trying to balance it with the kind of argument you want to make, the idea you want to sort of introduce after being able to understand and acknowledge what past authors have said. In some, and working from chapter one, they say, what they say in the way that you do it in a summary or in a paraphrasing, even in a quoting way, what they say has to always be connected with what you say. Now, the art of quoting gives you a credibility about what you're talking about, given that you're using an author's exact words, verbatim what they wrote in your paper. It shows, it demonstrates that you have read an author and a writer's work very carefully in terms of even being able to cite a sentence that you might want to use to prove a point. But there are wrong ways to do it, right? There's wrong ways to quote. In the book, they call it dangling quote or a hit and run quote or a mic drop quote, which is something that sometimes I do as a writer. Is I just kind of plug and put and play a quote into my writing, and I even forget to introduce who wrote that and why we should believe that person. And then the most important part that I see, and students really struggle with this, is explaining, why did you even put that quote there? Why is it relevant? Why is it useful to you? Or why did you highlight it and put it in the paper thinking that your professor or your reader might gain something from it? The right way, y'all, to do it is to do a quote sandwich. Hella cheesy, but it gets the point. Gets to the point. And you get the point. A quote sandwich basically is you start off with a sentence introducing the author, introducing the writer, maybe even the idea, putting in that quote, and then explaining it, right? So that it's not a mic drop quote where you're like, boom, I'm done, I'm out of here. And people are like, wait, I don't really understand the connection of this quote to the paper. This quote sandwich is, I hope that's something that you can sort of put your teeth in or chew on while you're doing the writing exercises for this week. I know, cheesy. Now, an important question is, when should I summarize or paraphrase versus when I should quote? This is a good question. And in papers, at times, you might be able to do both. But it's important to understand the distinction between the two. When you summarize or paraphrase, you're really demonstrating that you understand a writer's idea so much so that you can put it in your own words. Really, one main difference between the idea of summary and paraphrasing is that when you write a summary, you're really writing about a long piece of writing, where when you're paraphrasing a short piece of writing and sort of just rewriting in your own words one idea. When you're summarizing, you're sort of summarizing a whole set of ideas. Now, with quoting, one way you can decide to do that is if you really want to make a point about a writer or an author's idea, or really sort of underscore that this is one way that a writer is proving a point. And the best way to do that is a quote sandwich. Now, how you choose to summarize or quote really is up to you. But if you are trying to summarize a whole set of points or multiple authors agreeing points, you might not want to quote or drop a quote for each of those authors. You might want to summarize that all in one paragraph, and then highlight one or two authors' direct quotes. The take home message here is that all readers need to know enough context to be able to agree, disagree, or not care about your writing. And the way that you are going to give them that context is to prove that you know something about this issue already by summarizing or paraphrasing and or quoting researchers or scholars. I think that in chapters 1, 2, and 3, the biggest message I want to give you is that it is really important for you as a sociologist to know that there are academics and literature and research that has been done before. That what's most important to your writing is that you're able to engage that writing and put it in conversation with your own analysis, with your own arguments. All right, until next time.